isometric dystopian sci-fi RPG to our next title, which is a fresh take on the action-adventure genre. This team, all the way from Iceland, specifically built a mocap studio for this title, and has the incredible talent Aldous Hamilton as their lead protagonist. I got to sit down with the guys and ask them, what is this game all about?
So Echoes of the End is a cinematic, narrative-driven action-adventure game about Rin, a person who has trained all her life to be a warrior in service to a throne, and is now searching and finding her own identity as she's cast away from the life she's always known. It's a game we've wanted to make all our lives, basically. And for us, what we really wanted to explore was a marriage of a cinematic experience and the narrative, choice-driven storytelling of RPGs. Finding that bridge and union is what really inspired us to go and make our own video game.
Exactly, and such a big integral part of the experience is how you as a player choose to interact with the characters around you, the different companions, the characters that you'll run into when you're going about in the game and trying to solve all the issues that you'll be facing as a player.
What was the inspiration behind it?
We're at a remarkable point in the game industry where, a relatively small team is able to tackle such an ambitious vision, and it's actually reasonable. And I think we've just recently arrived at that point. There have been some really great games making leaps in the past few years, kind of paving the way for this as the tools and hardware and software get more accessible and affordable for smaller developers. We kind of, in the early days of Midgard, we came to realize that a game like this might be possible. And it seemed unreal to us that it might be at the time. But growing the team and building up the tech and pipelines in-house, we saw that this was, in fact, possible. And it's an absolute dream for everyone at the company to, be privileged enough to work on a game like this and to really shape the game that we all want to make.
Yeah, so kind of sticking on that point of development and how technology often drives the direction of how a game evolves throughout its development. How close to the original concept is the game now?
That's a really good question. So it's rather close. I would say we didn't really do any large pivots. We did make some changes, of course, as the vision evolved and as we understood better kind of what the game was going to be and kind of how we scoped it to fit a team that would be able to execute on it. But I think, we were always, from day one that the idea for the game kind of conceptualized, we were looking at the technology that was allow us to make this game, going for really, realistic and stunning visuals, digital doubles for characters, scanned environments, next-gen development engines, next-gen game engines, kind of all those things were in place for us to make the game. I think the primary things that have changed in the making of the game are more in the details of the execution of that, how we structure the story, what kind of game mechanics we want in a game like that, and really what the identity of our game is and how we separate that from other games.
We genuinely have been making this game, even though it is slightly different.
Yeah.
My work as narrative director has not had to change a lot.
Exactly, yeah.
We've mentioned, obviously, at the start and throughout what we've spoke about so far that you guys are based in Iceland and everyone knows the, picturesque scenery of Iceland. Did you get much inspiration from your homeland in the environment?
Yes, absolutely. Iceland is such a phenomenal place to live in, and it's a beautiful country that's been featured in, many films and video games before us. And the funny thing is that us growing up in Iceland, this is normalcy for us. This is what we've been used to. It isn't until we visit other countries that we realize that the rest of the world isn't a fantasy land.
Oh my God, trees!
Yes. But yeah, I mean, it's absolutely inspired by Iceland. And, I was working as a tour guide for the longest time, and a lot of us grew up in the country from different locations. And we pulled from those locations in the game. And even for some of them, we have nearly one-to-one replicas of them, in the game. Mm-hmm. But the game itself isn't based in Iceland, of course. We're just taking inspiration from the more fantasy level vistas and visuals.
Because while all this is true, while we love Iceland and while we'd be fools not to utilize the access we have to Icelandic natural phenomenons to scan and take references from, we don't want to make a game about Vikings because it's something that's been done a lot, and we really want to make a unique IP that is ours and that no one has seen before.
Yeah, and we kind of touched on characters, and you mentioned the main character at the very start. Tell us about her. Tell us, what made you choose her? Why does she exist the way that she exists?
I'll hand that one off to you, I think.
Yeah, it's always a tricky question to answer without getting into any sort of spoilers.
Yeah.
But Rin is, as I say, she is a character, a person trained from birth to be a weapon in service to the crown. I was really fascinating in exploring the difference between a person that is, the juxtaposition between purpose and independence. And Rin is a character burdened by purpose and chained to it. She has been given a purpose not of her own choosing, not by her own volition, but one that she has inherent to her birth and very existence. Throughout this game in particular, we want to explore the journey of going beyond that purpose and going beyond what role you are born into and seizing the world by the throat, basically. And I would say that she's born with certain powers that make her both a pariah and a uniquely powerful individual. But with that power come certain challenges and certain superstitions that she's challenged to overcome. I think that's general enough to avoid spoilers.
Yeah,
Would you like to add to that?
And just to add a layer to that, I think with the main character, she's, throughout the game, you're constantly meeting new people. We're setting her in, we start with her familiar setting, her kind of role in society, and her kind of what's expected of her, and we kind of break free from that throughout the game as we meet different characters, and Rin kind of finds her own path and purpose, like Magnus spoke on. And I think that's really where the player also steps in and kind of forms those new relationships that Rin forms throughout the game, and really is an effector on those. I think what really heightens Rin as a character in the game is the performance by the excellent actress behind her, who is Aldís Amma Hamilton, who is absolutely phenomenal at portraying such an awesome character.
What's the hardest part of game development so far? I know you guys are still in the development, but what's been the most challenging?
The most challenging part of game development?
I think that's a different answer for every team.
Yes, I think that's a different answer for every game, and I think it even might be a different answer for every team member, depending on the different perspective that they have into the game development. I think for us, it's been vitally important to find the right people to work on the game. And that's a really difficult thing to do, finding the right people who you believe in and who are really passionate about making games like this. And we've been lucky enough to find the right people so far, and we have exceptionally talented people on board with us making this game. And I think while that is often from the outset it's an invisible part of game development, but it's absolutely essential and extremely difficult.
Yeah, so you kind of mentioned before that, Iceland's quite small. Does that mean that you guys kind of struggle to find that talent that's out there, or is it quite rich in terms of game development?
So, as usual, Iceland is excellent per capita. We're the best at everything per capita. And among those in the Nordics, we have the most developers per capita. That's not really a useful metric when you look at the fact that we're only like 300,000 people, basically a small fisher town someplace. But, Iceland is completely unique in the way that CCP, another pretty well-known developer here in Iceland, kind of paved the way for all the other game developers here that are now thriving. We have a great educational infrastructure that, pretty much covers all the different fields of game development here in Iceland. So we have exceptional talent coming out. And so I think, considering the size, we have great access to talent. And another part of it is that we've had a lot of Icelanders who got into game development early, and moved to other countries and then moved back with a lot of experience helping new teams form and build games here. So while it's definitely a challenge to find people in a smaller nation, we're blessed by the fact that we do have exceptional talent here, and we have an educational system that is actively each year graduating new students who know game development.
What Halldór is saying is that we're a nation of nerds.
Yes. And like another per capita is that, I don't know, it's an incredibly high number of people in Iceland who play games at all ages.
Yep.
Like an insanely high number.
Yeah, that's really crazy. And, we've kind of mentioned what's the most difficult part about game development, but what are you most proud of up until this point?
That's, it's not, it's a difficult question to answer because there's so many things. I mean, making games is, it takes so many people to do so many things for it to go correctly. And I think what we're most proud of is that so far we seem to be doing it correctly with the great people. So I think what we're most proud of is the team and the progress that we made with this team.
Yeah, I think that's a very good answer in general, that just the talent we've collected around us and the friendships that have formed so strongly within this company.
Yeah.
I think that's invaluable and is what's going to drive it forward.
And then, finally, guys, what are the benefits of signing up with a global publisher like Koch Media and being part of their brand new label?
That's a great question. So obviously we touched on the part that we're kind of stuck in Iceland, so our outreach is quite limited on an island in the sea. No, but all jokes aside, the main benefit is that it's an extension of the team, and it's a great extension of the team.
Yeah.
We talk about the things that have been the most difficult, and that's building the team, and the things that we're most proud of, which is again the team that we built. And for us, Koch is a fantastic extension to the team. It's a publisher full of great people who are really passionate about games, and they're empowering us to deliver these games, worldwide. And I think that is anything a developer, an ambitious developer, could ask for in a publisher.
And we are absolutely glad to have you guys. Thank you so much for your time, and I cannot wait to give people more information about Echoes of the End.